What's up, everybody? Welcome. Glad you're back. My name is Mike Dokter. I'm the head coach of the women's high school basketball team, the house, playing under the Michigan Basketball Academy umbrella out of West Michigan. Our team is located in Muskegon, Michigan. Michigan Basketball Academy located in Grand Rapids. So we are reading through Pound the Stone by Joshua Medcalf. This is our yearly book. This is book number 2 in the series. First book is Chop Wood, Carry Water. If you haven't listened to or read that, I got a full playlist. Go back and listen to that one. Love to have you. Thank you for joining us again. Welcome back if you're continuing along with us. Glad you're here. Glad I haven't bored you yet. Glad the books are useful and helpful. We're going to read chapters 50 and 51 today. 50 is pretty short. 51, I will warn you, does have a little bit of adult language, so I'll warn you at the beginning. And we'll give some thoughts on these chapters and rock and roll. So, chapter 50, 10,000 Doors. As Jason entered his final month of the summer, he began a practice of doing early morning conditioning before work. The endless sets of sprints reminded him of those 5 a.m. practices he put in his sophomore year to make the team. Except that this time, while he didn't exactly love conditioning, he was doing it for no other reason than knowing that the pain of discipline was much better than the pain of regret. Every time he found himself on his hands and knees gasping for breath, he reminded himself of that principle. He found that starting each day with a hard workout gave him an edge in sales too. He was sharper, more focused, and in an even better mood to start the day, which helped kick things off. He sensed that it was getting easier to focus on doing the little things, though it was difficult to tell. His days of going door to door began to blur past, bleeding together with the insights he spent on the court. The feeling of flow got stronger and stronger. After 2 years of training doing TD's fundamentals routine, it had been seared into his memory. It had become instinctive, part of himself, as natural as breathing. This familiarity with the whole routine allowed him to zoom in and focus on perfecting even the smallest motions of each drill. He felt that this payoff in his footwork most of all. This, as his natural agility and rhythm became supercharged by the relentless hours of deliberate training he had put in. He had felt like he had unlocked a new power-up in a video game. Movements that had felt awkward and foreign to him at first were becoming second nature. Of course, some days were tougher than others, but Jason really thought that he was starting to see some progress from all of his work. Sounds like you found the sweet spot, Russ smiled as Jason finished up dinner one night. He had been talking nonstop about how much fun he had had that day between selling books and putting in a hard workout. Yes, sir, I guess so. The weird thing is, Jason continued, I realized this morning that I haven't checked the scoreboard all summer. I honestly have no idea how many books I've sold. Russ exchanged glances with Jan. It's funny you should mention that. Jan smiled because we got a call from the book program director today with some exciting news. Well, what is it? Jason was curious. Russ paused and then he spoke very straightforwardly. Well, for the first time, you might actually want to check that scoreboard, son. Jason couldn't get another word out of Russ, so he fired up his laptop and checked the sales figures on the company website. When he saw the number, he thought it was a mistake. He blinked and looked at it again. It couldn't be right, but there it was, 2,592. Jason couldn't believe it. That was even more than double his past summer's numbers. He shook his head, blown away. Russ shook his hand, man to man. Congratulations, Jason. You've come a long way. Jason wrapped him in a warm hug. We're so proud of you, Jason. Jason swallowed with a lump in his throat and just said, thanks, and as he grinned at Russ. Looks like I won't have a problem paying off that watch after all. I never doubted that you would, not for a single minute. It was a nice end to Jason's final year of selling books, and while he was tired to the bone from the work he had put in, he knew that he would actually miss the job itself. He had grown to truly love the process of going door to door. He had grown to love that it wasn't easy, that success wasn't guaranteed, and that every single door was a totally different opportunity to develop more character and grit. He probably knocked on 10,000 doors over the past 3 summers. And that unrelenting process had sharpened his natural abilities into something more focused and professional. By the time he knocked on the last door, he did it knowing that no matter what the future brought, he had 10,000 doors worth of experience behind him now. And he was much better equipped to face anything the future held. All right, great chapter, super short one. But the point of the chapter is the reason why I don't get overly concerned with what our team's record is on a yearly basis. What I'm concerned about is how my players progress year over year, practice to practice, day in and day out of doing the things that we focus on that we believe to be true drivers in the results that we're seeking. Basic drills, some of them, more complex drills, others of them. We condition, we train hard, we work hard, and we're exhausted by the end of it. And I, for one, love it. I know that not all the players do it at times, but I, for one, love it because I love seeing them get better. I love seeing them get stronger. I love seeing them be able to hang in the last 2 minutes of the game if the other team is gassed. That's what I love, and that's what I love witnessing and watching, is somebody and a team being able to grit it out when everybody else is completely exhausted in the midst of things. So keep pounding the stone, keep chopping wood, keep carrying water. It's going to pay off. And worst case scenario, if you don't win, again, worst case scenario, you have 10,000 reps in. You have more reps than most anybody else, and you're learning from that experience. You're learning something about yourself. You're learning something about what it takes to dig deep within you and pull out of you what you need in order to get the job done. That is the point of falling in love with the process, and that's what makes you a better person. All right, Be a Man, chapter 51. This does have some adult language, as I mentioned before. On Jason's last day at Russ and Jan's, Russ told Jason that he had a surprise for him. They got into the Subaru and drove into the city, where they pulled into what looked like an old-school barber shop. The sign over the door said Atelier di Gianluca. As they walked in, Jason quickly realized that it was a tailor shop. There were a few racks of incredibly cut suits, as well as several in-progress suits on mannequins. Russell, an old Italian gentleman, bounced toward them, greeting Russ like an old friend. Russ introduced him as Gianluca, his tailor. He's been dressing me for 30 years, and now he's going to dress you. He'll be making a custom suit for you. Jason looked at him with surprise. Whoa, Russ, I don't know if I can afford that. Don't worry, Jason. This is my gift to you. No strings attached. Call it a graduation present. Jason thanked him, mind blown, as Gianluca bobbed about him, tape measure already out, talking excitedly. They picked out a fabric, and after taking Jason's measurements, he told him that the suit would be finished in a few weeks. As they got home, Jason couldn't believe how generous the gift was. He only had one suit, and it fit about as well as a garbage bag. The suits at Gianluca's were the opposite. Each one was crafted with mastery, excellence, and classic Italian flair. He couldn't stop thanking Russ. Thank you so much. Russ just smiled at him. You're very welcome, Jason. You become a man now, and every man needs at least one great suit. Something about those words hit Jason in the heart, and he blinked back a flood of emotion. Russ noticed his reaction, concern. What's the matter? Is something wrong? No, sir. It's just, Jason took a deep breath. The only 2 times I've seen my dad, the thing I remember him saying to me wasn't, I love you or good job. It was, be a man. And I don't know why, but if I'm being really honest, I just never truly felt like a man until you said it right now. I'm so sorry to hear that, Jason. Russ replied, a look of deep concern over his face. Be a man are 3 of the most damaging words a boy can hear growing up. Why? As they sat at the kitchen table, Russ grabbed a pencil and paper. He drew a box on the paper and labeled it, quote, be a man. He then asked Jason to name some of the words that define what it means to be a man in our culture. Jason started to list them as Russ wrote them down. Tough, strong, stoic, pimp, ladies' man, athletic, muscles, domination, power, money. As he finished, he asked Jason, so what are some of the rites of passage boys engage in to prove their masculinity and their right to be in the man box? Jason didn't have to think long about that one. Out drinking with other guys or partying harder than everybody else, having sex with a lot of hot girls, having a lot of hot girls into you at once, doing drugs, maybe even selling them, dominating athletically in sports, getting in fights. Russ nodded. And if you don't fit in the, quote, be a man box, what do you get called? Jason took a deep breath. A lot of bad words. Weak ass, pussy, bitch, gay, homo. And if you ever found yourself outside of the box getting called those names, what would you do to get back in? Jason shuddered. Anything. Absolutely anything. It's too painful to be out of the box. Russ looked at Jason with deep empathy. I know what you mean. I was in high school once as well. We've created this false narrative around hypermasculinity and told young boys what it means to be a man. Be tough, never cry, never need anyone for anything, never show emotion other than anger and power. Solve your problems with your fists. Treat women as less powerful and boys poorly and make them fear you. And I've seen and experienced it all. I bought into the be a man lie for a long time. It sounds just like your dad did. And how did that work out for him? Jason nodded. Not well. He's still in prison. Russ shook his head. It's so sad to see that we've established a culture of masculinity built on shame and turning boys into monsters, not men. Real men have courage, especially to take a stand for those who are weak and vulnerable. Real men use their strength in service of others. Real men are willing to be vulnerable and show emotions. Real men are willing to cry. Real men know that they just can't go it alone. Real men are great friends. Real men develop empathy for others. Real men respect all people. Like you do. I've seen you do all of that, as Jason thought back over his friendship with Russ, and his thankfulness grew. Thank you so much for showing me what a real man is. Russ shrugged. I've had a long journey to arrive at that healthy understanding of masculinity and what it truly means, and how to best cultivate it in my life. But I'm still learning. You know, it was Frederick Douglass who once said, it's easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. I've seen this too many times in my life, and I'm grateful I had the patience and wise mentor, or I had patient and wise mentors who helped me repair it. Not everyone gets that. Well, you've certainly taught me a lot, and I'm grateful I knocked on your door 3 years ago. So am I, Jason. You've come a long way. Russ gave him a proud squeeze on the shoulder. But I will warn you that to whom much has been given, much will be required. As a senior, you're going to be looked up to this year. You will need to step forward as a leader. You may not be aware of it right now, but your actions have echoes in the halls of your school. What you do matters immensely. I'm not sure what it's exactly like there, but if your school is anything like mine was, the be a man culture of masculinity is probably pretty firmly put in place. But you have the power and opportunity to change that. A lot of people look up to you because of your size and athleticism, and follow your actions and attitudes whether you realize it or not. If you have the courage to live out what it actually means to be a man, people will follow. How cool would it be if you created a culture and left a legacy that changed what it meant to be a man at your school? Jason realized how powerful that would really be. It would be pretty amazing. The opportunity is there, Jason. I trust you'll take advantage of it. All right. There's a lot in that chapter. There's a whole lot in that chapter. And, the thing that's really unfortunate is our culture has completely screwed up what it means to be a man. And it's a matter of perspective, but this Andrew Tate BS hip-hop rap song, whatever the hell else you got of this perception of what it means to be a man is just straight wrong. And I listen to that music too, right? So I'm not pointing fingers. I have plenty of hip-hop. You'd be amazed at what my playlist looks like, okay? You'd be absolutely amazed. And I got plenty of that, and I listen to it too. And I'm not saying don't listen to it. What I'm saying is use your head. Understand that is a facade and it's not real. And I coach a lot of young women, strong, capable young women who I really, really hope understand that that's not real. And I know and I trust that they do. And if you're a young woman or a young man, I would encourage you to understand the true definition of what manhood really means. And I'm going to read it again here in a second. If you're a father, like I am, the worst thing that you can ever say to your child if you have a son is be a man. The best thing you could ever say is, I love you and I'm proud of you. Those are the two best things that you could ever say. You can say, I love you when things are going good, and you can say, I love you when things are going bad. You say, I'm proud of you when things are going good, and I love you when things are going bad, right? Your kid needs to know, both your son and your daughter, that you love them and you're proud of them no matter what. So as we end here, I'm going to read the definition of what it means to be a man again in that little vignette that Russ gave. That starts with, it's so sad to me that we've established a culture of masculinity based on shame and turning boys into monsters, not men. That's what I feel like this Andrew Tate nonsense culture has done. And it's really unfortunate. And I don't subscribe to it. I hope you don't either. And if you're a young woman listening to this, know that that's fake. That's bullshit. It's not real. And it's not something that is going to provide a long-lasting, fulfilling relationship based on the things that really matter. So thank you again for watching. I'm going to go ahead and read this chapter again, or not this chapter, but that little vignette, and we'll end right there. And we'll see you next time, all right? It's so sad to me that we've established a culture of masculinity built on shame and turning boys into monsters, not men. Real men have courage, especially to take a stand for those who are weak and vulnerable. Real men use their strength in service of others. Real men are willing to be vulnerable and show emotions. Real men are willing to cry. Real men know that they can't just go it alone. Real men are great friends. Real men develop empathy for others, and real men respect all people. We'll see you next time, friends. Bye now.